What's up, family? Welcome back to another legendary top of the movie reaction video. Let's get it.
The biggest controversy we had last year in the NBA was who was the MVP, and more specifically, who Kendrick Perkins had first on his ballot. As you guys remember, he heavily implied Jokic he was stat padding, only winning MVP because of his skin color.
What, bro? Race ain't got nothing to do with nothing. It's hard work, dedication, and commitment, bro. And the overall objective to win the game. That's basketball and teamwork, man. At the end of the day, every time I see Jokic, Jokic, I should say, play, he gives the ball to Murray, no problem, on the Nuggets. And he's a very selfless player, but at the end of the day, he'll look around, look at the floor of his IQ, his IQ senses to see who he can pass it to. And if he ain't got nobody to pass it to, he take matters in his own hand, post him up with his strength and his ability of how strong he is, post him up, do a fadeaway. My man has 3-point shot making plays because he know how to make the 3-point when needed to at key moments. I always see him pass the ball. If you want to be technical, they just played recently. The Nuggets just played recently the Celtics. Beat them in a 20 game home game streak of the basketball season of 2023 and 2024, going into 2024 this year season. What are you talking about? My man basically killed Porzingis in a post up to the point where Porzingis looked like he didn't even want to play against Jokic. Al Horford was the one defending him and D'ing him up to the best of his ability. He the oldest one in the NBA.
And he even went one step further, saying the voters had some weird motive, some bias to pick Jokic over Embiid. Now, of course, these claims, these allegations, they had no base in reality or in actual facts. As when it came to Kendrick Perkins, his entire argument, his entire thesis was built on lies and inaccurate stats. Now, since that moment, Kendrick Perkins kind of took 2 steps back. He backtracked slightly after the NBA Finals, took heavy cover. But now, roughly 2 months later, Perkins is once again coming out of the woodworks, defending his Jokic take and rewriting history.
This is the problem that I have when it came down to the Jokic situation. It was clips and pieces that people pulled out instead of watching the whole episode, right? So it started with me and Stephen A. debating about Jokic and Embiid, right? And all I was saying was,
I don't know if to call him Jokic or Jokic, not to get off topic.
It was about 30-something games left into the season. My thing was that, how in the hell with it 30-some games left in the season, we already saying that the MVP race is over?
Now, stopping it right there, Perkins already is lying through his teeth, as what he's trying to claim is these clips from ESPN were taken out of context and his argument was misconstrued. Now look, I don't watch all of First Take, the entire hour and a half, but I did watch this segment in its entirety. As when the actual story broke, Perkins had this take, ESPN posted a lengthy segment that was 14 minutes long. For YouTube standards, that's a pretty healthy clip with some good context both ways. And if you actually watched this clip, what they were talking about and debating was Kendrick Perkins calling Jokic a stat padder who was trying to average a triple-double on purpose. Perkins trying to rewrite history, saying this segment was only about the MVP being declared too early, is entirely inaccurate. As what Perkins says verbatim is that why he was upset with his fans, they declared the race over with 30 games left in this season. Now, that's not entirely true, as when Perkins made these comments initially, it was February 28th, meaning Denver already had played 63 games and the All-Star break was 2 weeks
Got him there.
prior. At that point in the season, what you're doing, you're really winding down, getting ready for the playoffs, and your MVP picks, they're kind of solidified and almost set in stone.
Exactly, and All-Star Weekend technically passed, because that's usually where, All-Star Weekend takes place, and then it gets real after that.
If you want to accuse Kendrick Perkins of lying, rewriting history, or just having a bad memory, go ahead and choose one, because it's pretty obvious he's doing at least one of these in this clip.
Like, no, man, we got 30 games left. Joel is balling. Like, that is unfair to him. That was my first argument. Like, we're not going to do that. I never said that Jokic wasn't deserving. Now, we get to the stat pattern part. People still talk about that to this day. All I said was this. Everybody in the league at some point of their career, including myself, has stat padded.
Now, what Perkins is doing here, not so sneakily, is trying to obscure the point by saying
Exactly. He's trying to cover up his tracks.
Everyone's stat pads. I don't really agree with that statement,
He's trying to
but to
generalize
each
it.
his own. The overall point Perkins made in his initial claim, was that Jokic the individual was indeed stat padding. Again, no proof, no...
Jokic is just a key star player, bro. And when you're a star player, you naturally don't even have to chase the stats. The stats come to you. Because you have that playmaking ability. And you're able to make plays on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively. In particular, I'm talking about Jokic because he's good at doing that. Making defensive plays, let alone deflecting passes and hurrying up and rushing back on offense and making another play-making opportunity on an offensive standpoint on the other end of the floor, bro.
It's no actual games of him doing it. Perkins just said it out of the blue. But his new comments saying everyone's stat pads. It makes you think, if everyone does it, why was Jokic supposedly doing it an actual problem? Think about that.
Exactly. Point. That's a point. Don't sit there and try to say everyone do it and generalize it, but at the end of the day, what was the point of being brought up if everybody does it? What's the issue?
Does that mean Kendrick Perkins picked Jokic out of every player, just singled in on him? Because remember, according to him, everyone's stat pads and everyone's done it. And I don't want this to be lost on you guys. Perkins' actual argument for Jokic being a stat padder, it was based on shot attempts and assists by month and by week. And what he doesn't ignore, doesn't understand, that Denver's team throughout the entire season was injured and banged up. As Michael Porter Jr., for big chunks in November and December, was out of the lineup. When he was out of the lineup, Jokic would have to score more and shoot more.
He had to step up. That's what I mean by a key star player. They do what they got to do.
Again, he's more of a passer, as was a facilitator. And looking at Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon, in late January, early February, both those guys missed a lot of time.
Yeah,
when they were out, Jokic.
And shout out to Jamal Murray, man. He came back even better. I'm grateful. I'm totally grateful, and it's a blessing that he recovered from that traumatic injury, and he's looking better than ever, man. Healthy.
Took more shots. When they came back, he took less shots.
So I don't know what Kendrick Perkins talking about, man. Kendrick Perkins, I think he just wanted to stir up some controversy and end up how can I put it? End up causing some backlash and end up coming back at him. That's basically. So now he trying to cover it up, but the backlash is already whipping his butt.
It's not complicated. It's not some conspiracy theory. When his teammates were hurt, he took more shots. When they weren't, he took less. It's literally that simple.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem that I had with JJ
and Joel Embiid always injured and out. So what are you talking about? Nikola Jokic, at least he shows up and shows out.
Said I accuse people of being racist. I never accused nobody of being racist, bro. Like, accusing somebody, and correct me if I'm wrong, racist is that you hate someone of another color. Am I right or am I wrong? That's racist, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, that's right. So I never said that.
So I think Perkins right here actually makes a pretty good point, pretty good distinction. And I think calling Perkins any name or saying he hates white players, I don't actually believe that or think that. What I think is more logical, more reasonable, I guess, is that Perkins, when it comes to NBA takes, doesn't have good takes and isn't a good analyst. And why I think he had this take about Jokic being a stat patter, having the voters biased in his favor, it was to boost up Embiid, who he was promoting as the MVP. I think it's that simple. Perkins, the actual analyst, doesn't hate Jokic because of his skin color.
So he used a bias. He used a biased sports analyst tactic in regards of trying to stir up a narrative to then boost the person who he wants to win the MVP, and the person opposite of who he wants to win. He had to find a way to use a narrative to then to try to basically lessen the votes of him winning the MVP race, which Nikola Jokic was going to win it anyway. So I feel like he was trying to do it from a biased standpoint in regards of a sports analysis, in regards of using his sports analysis position as a way of power in that sense. I think that's a different perspective I can bring up in the sense of what I'm getting here and the information that I'm getting, opinion-wise, and it being my opinion. That's what I get from here.
All he cared about in the moment was getting Embiid the MVP.
Exactly.
And the irony of all this, Perkins, for roughly 80% of the season, said Embiid was better than Jokic, and he was the MVP. But in that last 20%, Perkins flipped on a dime and put Giannis number one. Kendrick Perkins last year was one of the biggest disruptors ever for an MVP race. I'm not saying he swayed the entire thing, that's impossible, but I would say a chunk of the voters, maybe 10, 15, even 20%, because of Perkins' comments, probably changed their vote and went with Embiid over Jokic, as was Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, when Obama ran for president,
well, what the presidential race got to do with the MVP race of it? Man, here we go.
I know black people out of my community that never voted in their life. Me, personally, I never voted in my life. You know, I rushed to go vote for Obama because I actually wanted to see a black president in office. Does that make me racist? Does that make a black person racist? No, it don't. And it
You're just in favor and you voting for the individual you want to lobby your ideas of how you think society should be ran, along with law and so forth. So that's basically what a political leader is. They lead for the individuals that voted for him and lobbying the ideas that they stand for, which is the voters. So whatever idea they stand for, the political leader is supposed to represent that. And that's why the voter votes for that person, because it lobbies their idea of what they believe should happen in society. Now, I believe Kendrick Perkins tried to, like I said, use his sports analysis as a tactic to boost Joel Embiid's votes, because he wanted to lobby the idea of having a narrative stirred against Nikola Jokic so that Joel Embiid votes can go up, and it didn't work, and he didn't. And then on top of it, he got the backlash, and now he's trying to lie through his teeth from one statement. As far as the race statement, I don't believe he's being racist. I believe he's just in favor of one person winning the MVP race in the NBA over another. And he has his liking, just like the voters should. But the voting process, along with the votes and the results of the votes, will speak for themselves. That's what I feel. So him using a political or presidential vote, voting for president, I don't feel like that whole concept needed to be explained or even be used as an example, because you made your points originally. Now you're backing up some points because you got the backlash, and that's that. You want to clear what you said or defend yourself in whatever shape or form, but all these out of whack, out of context examples, you don't need to do all that, bro.
It's like you ain't doing it intentionally, but just because you may be rooting for someone of your own kind doesn't make you a racist.
So we took a really weird, sharp left turn right there.
Exactly.
And I understand what Perkins was trying to say, bring up Obama, all that stuff. But again, Perkins making his point, he's not the best guy to thread this needle. And I think...
And at the end of the day, as a sport analysis, you're analyzing the stats. You're using... Sorry, family. You're using facts, data, and statistics to back up your points as an analysis in regard to sports to sustain, or you're using facts, data, and statistics as a way to elaborate on why the votes are the way they are and why things are going in regards to the MVP race. You're not there to do analysis in regards of your liking and who you believe should win the vote. That's your person. Nobody cares about your personal, who you're in favor with personally, or who you're rooting for personally. You're there to do your job as a sports analysis, and on top of that, you're using the information, factual information, to get your point across in regards of how things are going. And if you want to add a little bit of your opinion, that's just adding another perspective to it. But we're not going to be using your role as a way to lobby what's in the best interest of you, let alone you're representing the NBA as an analysis to then have productive, optimistic conversation surrounded by the NBA. And narratives that come around it, fact checking those to bring some value to people in regards to the basketball industry. You want to bring some valuable information, adding value to other people's lives by analyzing the game of basketball, bro.
It down really simplistically, when it comes to the MVP any award, it should be an objective choice based off merit and not skin color, other things that don't factor into a player being an actual good player. Mm-hmm. And look, when it comes to Embiid, of course, he wasn't my pick to an MVP. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys, say Embiid's case wasn't at least half decent, because it obviously was. But if there's two players, let's just say Giannis and Jokic, they're neck and neck for MVP, just, you can't even tell the difference. I'm not going to pick one guy or the other based off skin color and these weird criteria. It's not even about basketball.
Exactly.
On the court.
My point exactly. Facts, data, and statistics. You're better off staying surrounded around what's about basketball and not taking off a context of it being about basketball, because this is what it's about, the game of basketball and the MVP race surrounded around it. Like, what, bro? You're going way off topic and you're using this criteria of your own liking because of who you're rooting for and you want to win because you're rooting for them, bro. That is not an analysis. That is just you in favor of who you in favor with, and you're going to, by any means necessary, create the narrative so it can goes into your liking of who you're in favor with.
And even in the future, if there's an MVP race with Tatum versus Jokic, an American-born player versus a foreign player, I'm not going to pick Tatum solely because he's American just like me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to look at both players, their cases, and evaluate them accordingly.
Facts. Statistics.
My overall point being, 2023, it took a massive hit to the MVP and its credibility. It already wasn't great, but Embiid winning it, Perkins pushing his narratives, made it even worse and less valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, it didn't help Jokic, who lost the award, won the entire championship, and Embiid flamed out again in the second round. And the last point I do want to make when it comes to Perkins, I don't think this guy's a hateful person, hates Jokic, or hates white players. What I think he is a bad analyst, kind of a buffoon, and just a clown in general.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big, big difference.
Wow.
As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
Well, family, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give this video a big thumbs up. Spread that peace, love, and positivity always. And on that note, family, peace.